I appreciate it. So let's get to it then. So I want to welcome first everybody, the great Howard Johnson.
Oh, nice.
Howard was a big part of the 1986 Mets, starred in the Once Upon a Time series that was out with ESPN. Also, the students had part of the sports history and culture class. They watched the special on Doc and Daryl. And Howard had some great years for the Mets in the mid to late 80s and into the early 90s as well. So first off, thank you for joining us, Howard. First off, tell us, why do you think that 1986 Mets team still lingers almost 40 years later, that fans can't get enough of it, much like the 85 Bears?
I can't get enough of it. I watch it. I watched the thing and I thought it was crazy. I mean, I'd say the biggest reason why we were so good was everybody on the team kind of sacrificed and gave in to the notion of winning. And that was our main concern, is like, no matter what happened off the field, and I know there's a lot of craziness off the field and I don't want that on anybody, but when the guys came to the ballpark the next day, they had one goal in mind. That was to win the game. And we kind of relished being the bad guys coming into town. We wanted that. So we used that as motivation. Also, when we were at home, our fans were unreal that year. We had these curtain calls going on, like after every homer. It was ridiculous the whole year. And so we tried to feed off of that, feed into it. And it helped us because there was some, if we weren't playing well or something was going on, a lot of times we figured out a way to win just because, or teams were intimidated by us as we came into town. So we just did our thing and let the off field stuff happen.
You guys won 108 games that year, as I recall.
Yeah.
Pretty good. That was a mix of veterans and young people coming up, how it all meshed at the time. The Mets had brought Keith Hernandez over in 83, huge trade for Gary Carter in 85. Yep. And then Doc and Daryl really surging there. Talk about that blend and watching guys like Doc and Daryl come up. I mean, you must have been awestruck watching some nights watching Doc pitch. He was sensational and was second to nobody at the time, maybe Bob Gibson.
He's like one of two guys that if my life was on the line, he had to win a game, then Doc would be on the mound or else I'd be a dead man. Because I know that he competes like nobody else. So when he's on the mound, he just absolutely takes the heart away from good major league hitters. They want no part of him. I don't think that really come across the video like it should. I mean, I played a lot of shortstop when Dwight was on the mound, and I saw the swings these Hall of Famers were taking off of him, and they literally wanted no part of him. So that's hard to do. I mean, there's pitchers out there that can make you look bad. The Doc, for whatever reason, just his presence and his stuff that he had just made him unhittable in some guys' minds. I'm talking about good hitters. And then Straw is the same thing. I came over in 85 in a trade as well from Detroit, right before Gary. And so when Gary got traded over, that was unbelievable that we could get Gary Carter and then get into spring training and seeing Darryl Strawberry for the first time and watching him do his thing. I mean, you could just tell there's special talent there. And it was just Keith Hernandez is another guy that was in the video, and he's legit as far as a leader, and we had all those intangibles.
When people read newspapers, because these students here, a newspaper to them is like a Dead Sea Scroll. You guys stole the back pages of the newspaper. You were the headlines, and the Yankees were second fiddle at the time, and that is the truth. And there was no negativity around the Mets. You guys were the bad boys. You were the badasses, and you won. You kicked ass and you took names.
Can't disagree with you on that one, but you're exactly right. During that time in New York City, the Yankees were an afterthought. It was all Mets, and the whole town was like that. And we had the videos happen during the season. We had songs, everything was going on, like the 85 Bears. Very, very similar. It's like a same track. So we just had a good team. We knew we had a good team. We played like it. And a lot of times the way I describe it, the intangibles in that group far outweighed the talent. We had talent as well, yes, but the intangibles were even higher. And to me, that's the difference. It's like, what's under here, what's under there. That's what you have to have every night.
Do you wish there was interleague play so you could have played the Yankees at the time? I mean, could you imagine Billy Martin going against the Mets at that time, the manager, and losing, and Steinbrenner was at his height? And again, these students only could read about Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner would push the Yankees to the hilt, and that would have been something to see the Mets and Yankees play in the 80s.
Would have been interesting. I'm more of a purist, though. I'm more of a, the National League and the AL get together, once a year. And they play. There's a lot of mystery on both sides. We watched the Red Sox that year in the playoffs, and they had an unbelievable series with Angels, and we saw that. And they had some fireworks and some theatrics, and so we knew it was going to be difficult. But when you face teams for the first time, I think true talent really shows itself. And talent wise, probably very equal. Boston and us, but the intangibles probably more on our side. I think Calvin Schiraldi with Boston had a difficult time at Shea, and like none of our guys had a difficult time at Fenway. So we kind of used the road as motivation.
And we'll take some questions from the students here. I just want to take us back to that game 6, and you go to extra innings there, and you're down 2 runs, and voila, a couple of base hits with 2 outs nonetheless. Take us to the bench and take us mentality, because this story is that Kevin Mitchell was on the phone making arrangements home. Keith was also inside smoking a cigarette. He was known to do that. So
he was doing that all the time. So that was consistent. No, what happened was we came in, we were down by 2, and we're in the dugout, and I was going to bat like 5th or 6th that inning. And so I think I was hitting 6th after Mookie. And so Carter was going back and forth on the bench, telling everybody he wasn't going to be the last out of the World Series. Like, he'd grab you by the jersey and pull you close, and tell you, I'm not going to be the last out of this World Series. And kid never swore, but he dropped a few F-bombs in there. And he was just like in a crazed attitude. And so he just told everybody, and you could see it when he walked up to the plate with 2 outs, he wasn't going to be the last out. And he fouled off a bunch of 2-strike pitches until finally he got something to hit and got a base hit and started the avalanche. Mitchell was upstairs. I think what I heard was he had half his jersey off, half his uniform was off. So he just grabbed any pair of pants he had that he could find, threw it on there, put a belt on, I think, on the way down the tunnel, grabbed a bat and went up there. And so, he gets a base hit. And then Ray Knight gets a huge hit. And then the whole thing with Mookie and the wild pitch, getting away from Gedman and just the run scoring and tying the game up. Just incredible. I mean, the things that happened. I was on deck when all that was going on. So I had a really good look at that ground ball to Buckner, and it was, even though it was slow, wasn't easy. And so he had these brand new Nike experimental high tops on that he could not move. He had bad legs and he couldn't move. And the ball at Shea could take tricky hops and just hit something and kind of scooted on him. And he didn't get his glove down in time, and it was over.
Let's talk to some of the students here who watched the documentary, and Doc and Daryl. So let's get some of their questions they might have for you. Nico, why don't you lead us off here?
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, my video's not on. I'm in dead stop traffic on the GW, but
dedicated.
Yeah. Do you ever feel bad for Bill Buckner or no?
No, I felt a lot of empathy for him, because especially after the fact, knowing that, he just wanted to leave. He didn't want to be around Boston. He was a legend with the Red Sox, and they kind of turned on him a little bit in the beginning. And he spent a lot of time in Idaho on a big farm he had out there. And it took a long time for Boston to kind of mend with Bill Buckner, but I'm glad. But at the time, I felt for him. Yeah, I felt for him. But, it's funny, in baseball, or in pro sports period, you kind of learn early that you can't feel sorry for nobody because they're not feeling sorry for you. So you just have to go about it, your business, and figure it out along the way. If you're the reason that your team loses or team wins, so be it. But you can't really take those emotions into account too often.
Okay, who's next? So James wants to go. Go ahead, James.
I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on like the Major League Baseball, how it's played today? Do you like enjoy watching the game or no? Like, do you like how it's played, or because it's a little bit different than back when you played?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get asked that every now and then. I don't like the way the game is now. I don't like all the strikeouts or the all or nothing approach to hitting. I'm more of a, grind out at bats, get on base somehow, get your base hits, move runners, drive them in that way. There's no reason to go up there and just swing and not make any adjustments, hoping to hit the ball out of the ballpark. I just don't know if that's what constitutes good baseball. The numbers, must show otherwise, but I think fans would love to see baseball the way we played it, where there was stealing and there was bunting and there was a lot of activity always happening. The game can be quite boring right now, and that's unfortunate. The pitching is very good nowadays. Yes, I agree, but I don't like the way the offenses approach it, or the radical shifts that you see. I'm not a fan of that because, and here's my reasoning. And you can disagree. People disagree with me. My dad disagrees with me, but here's my thing. Hitting when guys are in the regular positions that have been that way for over 100 years, success is only 3 out of 10 anyway. And so now you're going to make guys try to hit with defenders all on one side of the field or the other. It just makes it that much more difficult. And I don't think fans want to see that. I think they want to see, pitchers and hitters on even balance, having a chance. And that's kind of my feeling behind it. But I totally get it. I totally get the other way as well.
I totally agree with you. I mean, baseball, I love the game. I knew who Babe Ruth was when I knew who Catfish Hunter was in 1976.
Oh,
Howard.
yeah.
And, I can't watch the game now at times. Let's go to Carly. Carly, you have a question.
Yeah, Howard, are you pro or anti-robot umpires?
I can't stand umpires, so I'm probably more pro robot umpire. I'm good with it because, Carly, let me ask you a question. If you're me and you're standing in the batter's box and you get called out on a pitch that was a ball, you'd be upset about it. And so that part of it, I'm like, hey, let's do it. Yeah, he may get more strikes as well, but I know it's going to be a strike. If I'm out, I know it's a strike. So I'm kind of with it a little bit. I don't know how good the technology is going to be yet for that, but I'm kind of pro robot umpire actually. It kind of breaks with my purist background, but I say get the call right. That's what I'm about.
Okay.
What do you think? What does she think?
I think from a fan perspective, it's horrible optics when we have the technology that like Fox or ESPN provides, and we can see that they're clearly wrong. So it's wrong for the batter, it's wrong for the fan. It's just all around, no one wins.
That's a great point. So if they took that away, do you think that'd draw more fans? What do you think?
I think we want to see the accuracy. Like now we're getting like these soliloquies from journalists about, how Boston got gypped in a game.
Yeah.
Easily could have been fixed if they just got the call right,
Yeah. Well, the NFL's gone pure instant replay on most every play just about. So it's only a matter of time before baseball gets it right. But I know that's why it's bad, I think, for fans, of one team or the other that feels like they get ripped off. So at least you have an arbiter that's honest, that the machine is going to tell you. So at least both sides can be angry,
Well, bring me back to the Ron Luciano days, and everybody who doesn't know who Ron Luciano is can Google that. All right, we only have a few more minutes here, 2 more questions here for Howard. And then we'll wrap things up here. Jack,
Okay.
oh, this is an international student of ours, Howard, Jack
You.
Hopkins. There you go.
Okay.
International. I was actually going to, well, I had a question, but I was going to piggyback on that quickly. Carly, I know you follow soccer and stuff as well. I don't know if you know it, Howard, at all, but they introduced VAR, which is a video assistant referee, to like judge the offside calls. And I found that to be quite annoying to watch because the game stops completely and you have to wait to see if their fingernail is over the offside line. And I feel like that kind of in terms of soccer ruins the sport a little bit. So I wonder how it would work in baseball. But I understand what both of you are saying. My question to you, Howard, was thank you for joining us, by the way. But
my pleasure.
Was, how was the transition from being, a professional baseball player, living and breathing that every day, to kind of retiring and then, going into the coaching world, which I know you did? Like, what was that transition like for you?
Good question. It's difficult. I take that back. Not difficult at first, because when I did shut it down from playing, I did so because of physical stuff that was going on. My body just wasn't cooperating, so I didn't have to worry about that anymore. That was the good part. Sad part, obviously, is I'm not playing anymore. But my mind was still good, and it is today. I remember things clearly from back, like how pitches looked to me as they were coming in, my thought process, my approach to hitting, all those things. But now as a coach, I learned a long time ago that the way we did it, the way I did it, per se, personally, isn't the best way for everybody. And so I don't attempt to try to force that on anyone. I believe that everybody's inherently has something very good that they do as a hitter. Okay. My job as a hitting coach is to bring that out and improve that. And where they do struggle, then we're going to work on that quite a bit. So that's the way I view it. Now, it's the opposite of today. Nowadays, there's a lot of analytics that show if you swing this way, your barrel comes in the zone a certain way, on a certain angle, you have better chances. And that may be true, but not everybody's built to have that kind of swing. It's just not that easy. And I like now, I'm not even coaching it right now at this point. I coach kids. So believe me, every day I see kids that I'm having to break down their swing and teach them a better, more fundamentally sound way without taking away their personal style, so to speak.
Okay. One final question here for Howard? Anybody? Well, I got a question for you, Howard. Yeah. Here, let's talk about the current Mets. It's been a long time since they won a World Series. There seems to be dysfunction among the team. Even you bring in a new owner here. What do you see what's this team doing? What is this team doing wrong here?
No, they're just a player or two away, a break here and there away. It's been somebody gets hurt on the pitching staff, somebody gets hurt in the lineup. Guys are struggling here and there. No one's been consistent. It's hard. It's hard to win. There's a reason why it's difficult. I mean, the Dodgers fixing to lose to the Braves probably tonight or tomorrow. The Dodgers won it. They had second best record in baseball. They beat the team with the best record in baseball this year. And then you got the Rays. As good as they are, they're out. It's hard to figure it out. So even when things are good, it's still difficult. The Mets they're in a lull right now. They just haven't quite figured out how to win enough games and shore up what they need to shore up in order to get wins. And that's really all that matters. The thing that I have an issue with in general in baseball is we should be judged by wins and losses, not how did it look? How were my wins? How are my losses? Because if you start playing that game, you're going to lose. If you try to play the stat game, win every stat, you're not going to do it. There's going to be games you win that you get outplayed, but you figured out a way to win late in the ball game. So that should be a positive. But unfortunately, there's a feeling in the game kind of below the surface that it's got to look this way. It has to be a certain way of winning. It's not necessarily the case. The object is to win. That's it.
Most baseball fans are somewhat historians. They love the historical aspect of the game. And certainly the baseball records have been skewed over the last few years. There's more bounce to the ball. Now you have the spider tack. And when you were playing towards your end of your career, there was a growth in steroid use over the time.
Yeah.
In your opinion, does that make you upset because the guys were taking steroids and maybe ended your career prematurely, or guys coming up didn't get a chance? And should players like Bonds and Clemens be in the Hall of Fame? How should we look at those players? I mean, how should baseball look at it? And you were in the locker room with guys unknowingly might have been taking steroids at the time.
Yeah. Well, it really came in when I was gone. That's when it really started to explode. Dykstra and a few other guys, Bonds a little bit later on. To me, Barry Bonds should be in the Hall. There's no better player in the game ever, in my opinion. I mean, I didn't see guys obviously before 1965, but the guys I've ever played with, my contemporaries, he's the best I've ever seen. But it was in the game, albeit a little bit after me. However, at the time, it wasn't illegal. So I understand those guys wanting to get the edge. And baseball has always been about that. You try to get an edge on your opponent in some way. Obviously, you don't want to break the rules, but that's what you try to do. That's called competition. So you have to figure out, okay, where's the line? What is the line? I'm just saying that people look for edges. But what you want to do is stay within the law or the rules.
And certainly baseball and Commissioner Bud Selig has to be culpable as well, because he was ruling baseball at the time. And, there was a lot of ignorance going along around baseball. I'll give you one more and we're going to let you go because we said 30 minutes and 30 minutes on the dot. I'm going to pull a Frank Costanza on you. Why didn't Davey Johnson take Dwight Gooden out of the game when they were beating the Dodgers and then let Mike Scioscia hit the home run off of him? Give me the answer to that, HoJo. Please.
Oh my gosh.
1988, you'd be in the World Series playing the A's.
I know. I don't know. That's a tough one. The way I look at it, hey, we go with our best guy. You got to go with him. That's where, and maybe today they wouldn't do that. Now, today for sure.
He'd be gone. He would have been pulled.
100%. He'd be out of the game. But I believe in people more so than just straight numbers. And so if my guy tells me he can get this out or go out there and pitch this inning, I'm going to go with it.